that is the intro to Free Minds.
I like it.
Get you in the mood.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's an improvement on the original one that you showed us.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like we're recording. Looks like everything's coming through, so we're all good to go. Free Minds episode 2. It's real. It's happening.
Here we go.
I'm just more of a fuck it kind of guy, so I'm gonna play this video and then we'll see where it goes. Is this my water?
Yes, that is your water.
Cool beans.
It's out here.
All right. Here's this video. We're gonna watch it, then we're gonna talk about it. And that's that.
I wonder what you would do if you had the power to dream at night any dream you wanted to dream. And you would, of course, be able to alter your time sense and slip, say, 75 years of subjective time into 8 hours of sleep. You would, I suppose, start out by fulfilling all your wishes. You could design for yourself what would be the most ecstatic life. Love affairs, banquets, dancing girls, wonderful journeys, gardens, music beyond belief. And then after a couple of months of this sort of thing at 75 years a night, you would be getting a little taste for something different. And you would move over to an adventurous dimension where there were certain dangers involved and the thrill of dealing with dangers. And you could rescue princesses from dragons and go on dangerous journeys, make wonderful explosions and blow them up, eventually get into contest with enemies. And after you've done that for some time, you'd think up a new wrinkle to forget that you were dreaming, so that you would think it was all for real, and to be anxious about it. And then, because it'd be so great when you woke up, and then you'd say, well, like children who dare each other on things, how far out could you get? What could you take? What dimension of being lost, of abandonment of your power, what dimension of that could you stand? You could ask yourself this because you know you'd eventually wake up. And then you would get more and more adventurous, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now. You would dream the dream of living the life that you are actually living today. That would be within the infinite multiplicity of choices you would have, of playing that you weren't God. Because the whole nature of the Godhead, according to this idea, is to play that he's not. So in this idea, then, everybody is fundamentally the ultimate reality. Not God in a politically kingly sense, but God in the sense of being the self, the deep down basic whatever there is. And you're all that, only you're pretending you're not.
Cool. So that's just an idea that I'm putting out there. It's in my book that is now finished, by the way. I think it's a neat idea though, because when you live like this is all for play, then you destroy all your limitations. You aren't tied down to anything, because at least for me, how I'm doing it is, if this is all a game, I don't have to play by rules that people tell me to play by. I play by my own rules. I decide what I believe. I decide my own anything. And the goal is to just have faith in myself. I think people think spirituality is this thing where people put their faith in this idea of like a God or whatever it is. And really it's just, there's this quote, the kingdom of God is within you. And like the quote just means have faith in yourself and know that you can do whatever you want to do in your life. Period. That's the whole fucking thing.
Yeah. Not to bind yourself with some limitations. So just because the rules say you can't,
right,
doesn't mean that you really can't.
And I didn't put this up here to say y'all should be spiritual. I didn't do any of that. I'm just saying what I'm doing
I see you, Trey.
is I'm having faith in my ability to do whatever I think I can do. And that's it. And I know, and there's a difference between believing I can do something and knowing I can do something. Knowing is knowing it's gonna happen no matter what. Whatever I decide to do, it's gonna happen. You know, however many GPS misdirections I get that are like course correcting me to the thing I want to get to, and that's how really anyone does anything they want to do. And any of it, like whoever it is, it doesn't matter. They do it because they believe they can do it. Period. You can be an atheist. You can be whatever it is. As long as you believe you can do it, then you can do it. Period. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. You got to be certain of some things, even though there may not be certainty.
So, what I want to do on this episode today, is kind of talk about what we're going to do in the future is have people on, and we're going to talk about their journeys and how they came to kind of remember that this is all for play, that this is all like not to be taken too seriously. And I'm going to show you one other video about thinking and like what thoughts are. But that's good. We should.
Yeah, just kind of.
So I want to talk about my story today because, you know, people on the podcast don't really know who I am. They have no clue who I am. It's my story today, and we talk about it. And then the next episode, I think we talk about you guys for a second and figure out where you are right now. And then in the remaining episodes, we'll have a guest on. And we'll talk about their journey. We'll talk about what they've been going through, how they have kind of been like, you know what, I can't do anything. Like, fuck this shit. I can actually do anything I want to do. Like, fuck anyone that says I can't, because it's crap.
Yeah.
It's people. There's a lot of negative people in this world, and a lot of them want to tell you can't do something because they're scared they can't do it. And we all really are our own worst enemy, and it's such a fucking cliche to say it, but it's the ultimate truth, is that we are literally our own worst enemy.
Yeah. Sometimes the only person stopping you from doing something is yourself. Or most of the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how did you get to that point though, Trey? Or how did you get to that point of just saying, fuck it?
I believed that I'm not this thing. I believed this is a dream, to speak. And this is, you know, what the Buddhists believe. This is what a lot of people in Hindu religions believe. It's just, this is a lesson. Life is art. Remember last week whenever the first episode came out? We talked about how life is art, and we're all just this unique expression of consciousness, and we're here to build this artwork that is Trey Jackson. And it's fun because, you know, in the first 27 years of my life, and maybe we'll talk about me, it's just I hated myself, and I wasn't happy with myself, and I was suicidal sometimes, if I'm just being honest, because I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, what the fuck is the point of all this? Like, why do I get up every day? Why? And when you ask yourself that question enough, you either go crazy or you have a crazy injury happen to you that makes you sit down with that question. So I guess let's start at the beginning then, if we're gonna do this.
Where are you from?
Yeah, where am I from? I'm from Tennessee. I'm from Nashville. I grew up there. That's what home is to Trey Jackson. And this is all in my book that I just wrote, but I might as well just give an overview. I grew up with some parents that everybody's a person, and we don't really know what the fuck we're doing, whether we're an adult or we're a child. Well, maybe the children actually know better than the adults sometimes, let's be real. And my parents, I'm not shitting on them, they did not know how to outwardly express love, period. And on the hierarchical of needs, like that table, it's like love is on there. And like if you don't get love, then you get a little fucked up. So when I'm a kid and my parents aren't outwardly expressing love to me, like in a way, not through like I bought you a thing and this thing represents my love. It's not like that. It's like I love you and I hug you and like I embrace you and like you feel your parents love you when they do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways of showing love, though, right? So, I mean,
Right.
some people are more apt to
And it's
receive
not-
love through physical contact, and some people through gifts, and some people through words and poems. And
You
things
can
like
put
that.
emotion into words and stuff, by the way. I'm not saying you can't.
Yeah, and you can put it into a gift. You can put
Mhm.
it into a material item as well. There's like a level of compatibility, I think, between the giver and the receiver in that case.
And I have to receive it.
Yeah.
And I never understood how to receive. I just didn't get it. And I think it's because I had a sister that came before me, 2 years before me, and she got the brunt of the attention. And I came after, and I was a really creative kid, so I would like record movies of like playing with toys and shit, and I would like build stuff with paper and tape.
Yeah.
I would build all this stuff, and I think my parents just saw it, and they're like, all right, he's entertaining himself. He doesn't need the degree of attention that his sister gets, which caused me to develop this thought that I am not worthy of love. And I hated myself for like the first 27 years of my life, thinking like, I'm shit, I'm not worth anything, I'm crap, I should kill myself, like that kind of stuff always came up. And I never actually entertained the idea of killing myself. It was more like, if I did it, would anyone care? That's why I thought about it. I was like, I wonder if anyone would give a shit if I actually did this to myself.
Do you ever think that you just had the wrong perspective on it? Like maybe it
100%.
wasn't that you weren't worthy of love, but that you didn't need it as much. You were able to get by. You were able to entertain yourself. You were able to keep things moving.
But like when you're a kid, you're always looking up to your parents and you're like wondering, am I doing a good job? And you want that validation. Because when you're a kid, that's
all you know.
right.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that I could love myself. I didn't understand that I could be like, I am enough to myself. I didn't understand that I could just say it to myself and that's enough.
Yeah.
It helps to have support. It helps to have people around you that are saying, I love you, and that's nice, and that's helpful. But that's always on flimsy foundations because you never know if you're going to get it every day from that person. But what you do know is you can get it every day from yourself because you can always count on yourself if you believe in yourself.
True. Yeah.
So when I'm a kid and I'm growing up, and my grandparents are really raising me, like they really are. I sleep at my grandparents' house every night, and you know they love me to death. But I don't, because my parents aren't giving me this outward display of love like my grandparents are giving me. Then I don't know how to receive it from my grandparents because I'm like, well, I'm doing something wrong with my parents, so I'm a bad boy or like whatever the fuck you say. You know? Like I'm doing this wrong clearly because my parents aren't giving me what I expect to receive, and it really fucked me up for like a really long time until this injury happened, honestly. So what I did at first, and this is when I worked at Clorox, one night I saw this video that was like, it's like you can do anything if you put your mind to it, and I was like, I wonder what I can do, and then I started doing comedy.
Yeah.
And I did comedy in a self-deprecating way because I was like, my life's a fucking mess. I might as well make fun of it. And it wasn't. I was good at comedy. I was funny sometimes.
Sometimes.
No, I did. I watched you a couple times. It was good. It was good. I enjoyed it.
But when I was doing the comedy, I was still seeking the validation externally. I was still wanting other people to give me the approval instead of just giving the approval to myself.
Yeah.
From within. And then this injury happened. So like the comedy thing kind of went to a clash, whatever the fuck the word is. It stopped because somebody one night said I was so good that I would be on TV someday. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it freaked me the fuck out. And I didn't know how to do comedy again after that. Because I was putting all this weight on these external people approving me of he's good enough to be on TV, as opposed to just knowing I am good enough to be on TV.
Yeah.
You weren't thinking about it before. You were just letting it flow.
Yeah. And then I stopped letting it flow when I was like, oh, I need to worry about this with my logical
you have
brain.
To maintain these external expectations
Right.
now. Yeah.
It fucked me up.
Yeah.
So the comedy fell apart without the foundation of believing in myself. So then I had this injury. I quit my job. I broke up with my girlfriend. I quit my job. And then 30 minutes after I quit my job, the universe, whatever you want to call it, sends me this message in the form of a fucking injury. And the message was to slow down and to quit trying to do everything. The left hand's the receiving hand in a lot of cultures, and the right hand's the giving hand. And they took away my giving hand so that I wouldn't try to be giving all the time, and I could just receive from myself, receive from others, receive, this healing, whatever you want to call it, the ability to slow down and look at myself, because that's what I did when I quit my job. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna start this new thing, and I'm gonna do it right, then.
But you didn't, hold on, you didn't quit your job though thinking you're going to do this.
No.
What did you quit your job thinking you were going to do? Or what made you quit your job?
I quit my job because I hated it.
Because you hated it. But what was your plan, or did you have a plan after you quit your job?
I didn't really have a plan.
Before you quit your job?
My plan was to trade cryptocurrency and do Postmates until I figured it out. And I think what a lot of people today don't get is that, like, you don't have to have this plan laid out in this granular fashion. Like, you just have to know, I'm going to figure it out. That's really all you need.
Yeah.
You don't know when you're going to figure it out. It might not. It might be, it's been 3 months since my injury. And I don't know, maybe for the first month and a half, I was bound and determined to be a fucking day trader.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And do day trading and make money that way.
Yeah. And I think that was before you even quit your job. I remember you were like drawing on whiteboards and stuff at work, and you're like, all right, this is my crypto theory, like this is what I've been doing. Yeah. So you were kind of out the door, I think, before you
actually did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, man. It's not so much about having a plan, it's about believing that whatever you do is gonna work out in a positive way.
It usually does, right?
And then it usually does, right? But if you genuinely don't believe things are gonna work out,
then it won't.
They usually don't.
So,
it's like it's weird to say, but when you have that belief that it's gonna work out, you start to make the right actions. You start making the right decisions to make it work out. Because you're in that rhythm, you're in that groove. You're trusting yourself. You're not you're not wasting your time questioning every decision, every move you've made, and everything else that people have given you. And you're not looking for this outside validation. You're just like, I'm on the right path. I'm doing it. Fuck everyone else. And I think that's what gets you there.
Even the way you just talked right now is in flow. You weren't choosing those words really. You were just letting it happen, I think.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way people need to do it with their life. You just need to let it happen.
Yeah, I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't know how I was going to say it until it came out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but I knew that I could. I knew I could communicate it to you guys. I believed in that, and I just did.
And in the same way, I still don't know exactly what I'm doing. I just wrote a book. I'm starting another book. I guess I'll just mention this. Like, I've started working as like a medium, which is like this psychic stuff, to like read people and give them readings. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I really don't. I don't.
Yeah.
But the guy that I was talking to, he's just like, you're good at this. Like, you just need to let it happen, and like you can help people. And I was like, okay. I just started believing I knew stuff, and then I just started knowing stuff, and it comes to me in pictures. And again, if you told me 3 months ago I was going to be a fucking psychic medium that's writing books,
what would you have said?
I'd be like, you fucking lost your mind, man. You're crazy. You're ludicrous.
Yeah.
Without the good rapping skills, like just.
That was a good one.
I still am in disbelief, honestly. I don't know. Y'all can comment on that. I have to get another water. Trey drank last night.
Trey drunk last night.
Well, yeah, I mean, that whole idea of you just gotta say fuck it, and you can't think about anything else, and you know that's how you approach what you're doing now and how you started this. Isn't that really how anything and everything has been started?
True.
I mean, Apple.
Look
pretty
at
much anything that
any great company out there
yeah.
today that was, you know, revolutionary. They said, "Oh, this is the way it's being done now." I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I believe my way is the way to do it. And then they went out, took the mission, put it to paper, formed a business, and boom, there's Apple. There's something new. There's the airline industry,
Uber,
or
anything like that. I mean,
next level invention type thing.
It's that Robert Frost poem that's like, take the road less traveled by. It's so fucking true, though.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. Who thought 5 years ago even that you would allow your kid, or even you would get into a car with a stranger, and have them drive you around?
And now it's just normal.
Now it's just normal. It's changed everything.
So,
take the path less traveled. I think there's something like, I think that path that's like commonly interpreted wrong. People see it as like, take the different path to be different, but I think it's more of like, don't focus so much about how you're getting there. Just take the path that seems right. And sometimes that's the one that
it's the fucking Nike slogan.
Yeah,
just do it.
Just do it. Yeah, but
people think too much about things.
They do.
Yeah, you overthink it. You think I have this plan, like this is exactly how my life's gonna go. Sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches. You know, you gotta be ready for something unexpected.
Einstein had this saying that you cannot solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created the problem. And the level of thinking that created my life into being this problem or whatever was me thinking about shit. And thinking I had to do everything right. And thinking people care about what I'm doing, to be honest. I mean, honestly, like, I think about you guys, but I don't really give a fuck what you're doing. Like, I really just don't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, though? It's just like, my life is like what's on the table. And it's the thing I'm thinking about. I'm not worried if Brian is making a comment here or there about something, or if you're making a comment. It's just, that's not important.
Yeah.
And that's not what people think about. And when you fucking look at it and you're like, oh, people don't actually like think about me all the time. They're not like actually worried about what I'm doing or if I'm doing something right or wrong. Maybe my parents do to some degree, but like,
yeah, it's going past that egocentricity where you have like the world revolves around me type thing, and you know, you're constantly worried about what other people think about you when really other people don't give a shit about you. They're not thinking about you. You think that they're thinking about you, but it's like it's almost like an immaturity to have those wandering thoughts. But yeah.
Did you want to say anything on this, John? Before I'm gonna play this video because it actually is a good segue.
No, I think you covered it. Just, you can't think about what other people are thinking. And I think the biggest thing to take away from this is just do it. Just do it. I mean, if we would have, 2 months ago, just thinking too much about this or thinking it has to be perfect,
it won't be.
We didn't have these boom mics. We're sitting in front of a table.
Okay.
We're sitting in front of a table in a basement with this thing taped up here. And this camera on a fidgety whiteboard.
Yeah.
We don't care. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
It'll get better as we go. As we
Yeah.
as we go down this path, it'll get better. But just do it. Don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
Don't try to make it perfect when you first want to do it. Just do it.
Yeah. We didn't get here and come up with all the reasons why it couldn't work.
So
we just made it.
We just did it. We just did it. I think that's a good point too. With people thinking about why it won't work rather than just doing it. Yeah. You can outthink yourself enough by thinking of all the reasons why it's not going to work.
Yeah, there's times when it does make sense. When you've got 100 ideas and you narrow down to one. Yeah, that's when you use that methodology. But when you're coming up with new ideas, that it won't work because of this, you could be kneecapping the shit out of yourself because maybe you're being short-sighted in your reasoning for why it wouldn't work. But I think kind of back to what you were saying about not fuck you guys, but kind of like I care about you, but I don't care about what you're doing. I think it comes back to the fact that you believe in yourself now. So now you say I believe in myself, and I believe John believes in himself. So I trust him to do what he needs to do. I care about him. I hope good things happen for him, but I have faith that he's going to make the right decisions, and I believe in him to believe in himself. If that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense.
But I think to do that, you have to believe in yourself first. Yeah. So it's like it's a multi-step.
It all starts internally.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't get. When people get mad at the world, it's just a reflection of themselves. And people think it's the world that they're mad at, but it's really there's something inside of themselves that they're seeing in the world that they don't like, and they're rejecting it.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Like,
exactly.
I'm no philosopher, but like it just some of this stuff is just real simple if you just let it be simple. And when you're mad at somebody, or whatever it is, or if you're thinking about worrying about something, it's just a reflection of yourself. These thoughts are all just a reflection. And this is why the podcast is really about finding the self, because when you look in a mirror, and you're looking at it, you can't change your reflection without changing the source. I can't change the way I look in the mirror. I might be able to like change the way I'm looking at the mirror to make it look better, but I can't actually change anything in the mirror without changing me at the source. And it's the same way with your life. It's the same way with anything that you're mad about or that you're holding on to. It always has to do with you.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing lately is I think that we have two ways of interacting with the world, and what I've been trying to understand is like we're in these animal bodies, right? And the animal body only knows the now, pretty much, and it knows past experiences to avoid through fear. Something scared an animal one time, and it avoids that situation from now on so that it doesn't get into trouble, right? So now we're this consciousness, this thing that we are. We're in this body, and we have all these animal things, and it's like, avoid this, avoid that, because we want to be safe. We want to survive. But now we have this prefrontal cortex that can override this fear. So I ate a pop brownie the other night. It was good. But I hung out with my friend, and we went to this Mexican restaurant. And when I walked into the Mexican restaurant from outside I felt good. And I wasn't thinking this whole time. My goal was to feel my environment, just as an animal feels their environment. The animals don't think when they do stuff, they feel. So my goal was to feel. And then if I have input from my brain, I can watch it, but I don't become it. I don't let it, I am not my thoughts. I'm just not. Thoughts are a tool. So I'm outside this restaurant, and then I feel good. I feel a lot of love or something. And then I walk into the restaurant, and I feel all the people in there. I feel like their emotions. Like, so do you understand the concept that we have a magnetic field around our body? This is how birds figure out how to fly. This is how pretty much any animal in the environment figures out anything. This is how the monarchs all travel to Mexico for this one time of the year where they breed and stuff. It's the magnetic field around the earth interacting with their magnetic field. So in the same way, we can tune into our magnetic field and we can feel our environment. Just like when this injury happened, I don't know if the listeners know, but like when the injury happened, I had this cat, and I was introducing him to a new cat, and I set my cat down on this countertop that is elevated, and this other cat was on the ground at like a lower elevation or whatever. And the second I set my cat down, I felt like something bad was going to happen. My body felt it. My brain didn't think it. My body felt it. And I ignored that, and I said, I overrode it actually with my prefrontal cortex, and I said, no, I'm going to make these cats be friends. Even though my body told me what was true. My body said, that cat over there is emitting this anger or whatever the fuck it is, and it's going to hurt you. And I ignored it. And because I ignored it, I wound up with this cat bite in my hand that caused this infection to fester and like caused me to have to be on antibiotics for a month and a half through a PICC line in my arm, and you know, it turned my life upside down. And if I had just listened to my body from the get-go, you know, I would have been fine. And I'm sure that's the lesson I'm supposed to learn from all this. It's just like, don't feel with your head, feel with your heart, your body. The heart and the body are kind of the same thing. So when I walk into this restaurant, I feel my body and I feel fight or flight kick in. And I'm like, why the fuck is fight or flight kicking in from walking in a restaurant? And it's kicking in because this social anxiety that I used to have is an old program or whatever, a stored procedure.
Yeah.
It's being called. And it thinks, are there threats? Are there threats? And my body's looking for threats. And if I tell my body, oh, this is scary, then my body's like, okay, it's scary. It's time to be scared. Time to be in fight or flight the whole time I'm in the restaurant. Or I chose to not turn it on. And I said, okay, there's no threats here. This is just people. We're just here to have dinner. Like, what the fuck is fight or flight doing on, you know? And I think a lot of people are in fight or flight all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think they realize it because it's normal for them.
Yeah.
And animals are not meant to be in fight or flight for more than like 5 to 10 minutes at the most. Because it's too fucking stressful on the body.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between being in fight or flight and just being. And I chose to just be in the restaurant that night. And I chose to just have the experience. And no narrative running. Because, you know, when a lot of the times, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I think I just need to convey this point and then we can talk about it. A lot of the time, we have a narrative and it's running over what's actually happening. And we believe that the narrative, the thing that's telling us what's happening, is actually the true thing, when the true thing is actually just what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Narrative is just your perception of it.
Yeah. Am I articulating that in a way that makes sense, though?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have narratives that run, and we say, it's not the truth. The truth is whatever's happening.
But it's your perception of what's
Right.
happening.
And another part, and this is totally a side topic, but it's just like, I think the world is so fucked up today because everyone has their own goddamn narrative running. And all these narratives are clashing. And the way your girlfriend remembers something might be different than the way you remember it. The way your wife remembers something might be different than the way you remember it.
I can attest to that fact from an example I could give you from last night.
Yeah,
I won't go into the details, but I will say that, there's people perceive things in different ways. We were having the same conversation. I'll not give you the details, but generally speaking, we had a misunderstanding, and I'd been conveying something that I thought she understood well, and she just totally was missing like the point that I was making, and got something totally different out of it. And then when it came down to like the decision or whatever, she was like had a totally different response than I did, and I was like, well, I thought we were on the same page with this, but we weren't. It was that was my perception of it. So
We're gonna have to scoot back.
Yeah.
I needed you, so you're good.
So how you get around that? What if everybody was just feeling and they were all just like in the experience without a narrative running? If somebody's up there talking, you might have a thought or two, but you're listening to them as opposed to judging what they're saying.
Yeah, you're not putting your own biases to their words and your own thoughts and feelings into their words.
Right.
Into what's actually happening. You're not coloring it.
Yeah.
You're just leaving it in black and white, basically.
Yeah. And there's no need to color it unless, I guess we all interpret things in our own way, but
I think the first step of that is just listening, right?
Yeah.
Way too many people don't listen.
they wait to talk.
They wait to talk.
Yeah.
They already have what they think they're going to say
They don't say
in their
it.
mind.
They restructure it and formulate. It's like
Yeah.
it's like you're gonna type a tweet and you like, oh wait, let me like change this.
wait,
And, let me use this buzzword in here, or like let me add this hashtag, and you go back and you've like done like 80 things to it before you send it.
And
was it really what you wanted to say at that point,
or is it what you think the world wanted you to say?
Exactly.
And that's why we're all so fucked up.
You're coloring it to their perceptions, to fit their narratives.
And like, I see this when I try to like teach my mom how to use Excel, for example.
That's an uphill battle.
It is, and I see that she's not getting the info I'm sending to her, and she's not downloading it or whatever. She's just having me do something for her, and she's not actually learning how to do it, which is why when I talked about the Excel class, I was like, I don't want to pretend that I'm smarter than people, because I'm not. All I'm doing is just being present and paying attention and figuring something out. And anybody can do this. Anyone can just be present and figure out whatever they want to figure out. Steve Jobs said this, nobody's actually smarter than anybody else. It's just the people that choose to be present and choose to believe in themselves. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, honestly, this is like kind of maybe a belief I've always had, but I'm good with math.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe my perception of this is different, but when you're in school and you're really young, that's like the one subject that everyone's like, oh, math is hard. Math is really hard. I don't like math. It's really hard. And it makes me wonder, is it really hard for you? Or is it that you just don't like thinking? You don't like engaging yourself with these numbers and actually having to use your brain to do the work.
Being present.
Yeah, you don't like being present in that particular scene, which is understandable. I mean, some math isn't for everyone. Not everyone should have to do it. But at the same time, you miss out on those core foundations when you're young, and they don't become as ingrained in you because you thought it was hard, you didn't like it. And then, 18 years later in life, you are bad at math because you didn't build the same foundations as the people that were there, engaged in the moment and learning everything they could. So, like, it's not that some people are just born inherently smarter than others, but the path to get to where they ended up was different, and it was colored by, their lack of want to be in the moment and lack of want to be there and engaged. And that's why school is less effective for some people, because some people aren't engaged and they're not getting anything out of it,
And honestly, school's probably not for everyone, to be real. Like,
no, it's really
not the way we do it. Too.
Yeah.
Nothing's good or bad. And when we tell ourselves, I'm bad at math, then you are bad at math.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
It's
a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why, like,
whenever
whenever someone says that, I'm like, no, you're not. You're just telling yourself you are. That's like me saying, like, I can't run a mile. I can go run a mile. I'm out of shape, but I can go run a mile if I put my mind to it,
If it was life or death and you had to run a mile, you'd fucking run a mile.
Exactly.
Anyone would do it.
Anyone.
And then maybe some people are like, I'd rather die. And then
maybe you have a heart attack while running it because you're like 70 and obese or something, but you can at least try to do it,
To that point, that's one of my pet peeves whenever I'm at work or just in general, when someone's like, hey, can you teach me how to do this? The first thing I think is, did you try it yourself? There's this wonderful thing called Google, and I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, if I don't know it, I'm just going to go Google it. I'm going to come back and do that problem for you, and then they're going to say, oh my gosh, you're so smart. How did you do that? I did what you could have done. Let me Google that for you and do your work for you, rather than,
It's so funny, because when I first had that job at Clorox, I came and asked you something one day, and I watched you Google it, and I was like, I could have done that.
You could have done that.
People ask me stuff all the time.
I was like, I don't, like, people call John this Excel wizard, but I think John just Googles everything.
I just Google everything, and I take the time to learn it.
But it makes you look really smart. But the thing is what's funny about that is, it happens to me all the time. Like, someone asks me a question, I go Google it, I give them the answer. They don't really learn the answer. I do, though.
You do.
And then the next time someone asks me that question, I don't have to Google it. So
you already Googled it for someone else.
That's why I'm willing to do it, is because I'm like, hey, well, this is something I might benefit from learning.
Exactly.
I'll go learn it. Maybe you don't want to learn it, but I'll do it. And
then everyone thinks you're a genius.
Yep. And then you're that guy that knows the answer to everything, right? Which is always cool to be.
Let's see where we are.
How are we doing on time, Chief?
We're about 38 minutes.
Hey, we got a timer on the video here.
Yeah.
So.
Cool beans.
Should we roll into our next video segment?
Yeah, are y'all good to... I think we can close out this episode.
Yeah.
And because there's another idea I want to talk about, and it has to do with things being good or bad.
Okay.
And thinking. And we didn't really get to talk about my story too much. I think we talked about it enough to the point. But let's finish my story, and that'll be the end of this episode.
Okay.
And my story's never finished, let's be real. It's just happening. And what I've chosen to do now is to live a life where I feel. When I was at dinner with my friends, I was feeling their conversation. I could tell that she was pissed at him, and the guy was not. He was in a good place. He was positive, she was negative, and I could just feel it. I could feel their emotions in their words. And I didn't have to listen to the words to know what they were saying. I could feel it. And just like birds can feel where to migrate, monarch butterflies can feel where to migrate, we can feel if there's a threat. So we don't ever really have to worry, because our body just knows.
Yeah.
If you enter an environment and something bad could happen, there will be some kind of negative magnetic field shit going on, and your body will catch it. And it'll be like, hey, something might be going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe avoid that area.
But you got to be in tune with your feelings to catch that. I think a lot of people miss those.
yeah, and then they're like, I think I'm overthinking this. And then like you can't. And when I'm doing the picks for the betting, so I do the sports betting stuff where it's intuitive picks, and when I'm trying to think to pick, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. When I feel, oh, this one's correct, I have to feel it though. It's very, very, very different than thinking. And it's hard. It's just when you do meditation, the point in doing meditation is just to start feeling and to get used to what it's like to just feel what it's like to be here. And a lot of people think I'm doing meditation to enhance this egoic version of myself, to make this Trey Jackson a better, more complete person. And like, no, what you should be doing is just being like, okay, I think a fuck ton, and I think way too much, and all this thinking just creates problems. And I'm not interested in creating made-up problems for myself anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to meditate every morning when I wake up for 30 minutes, and this is what I do. And then I do some prayers, whatever you call them. I send out blessings to people, and I'm just like, I love this person, and I hope, that they're doing well, and that they have a good day, or whatever it is. And that's the tone that I start my day in. I start my tone with gratitude. I'm like, I'm happy I'm here. And I'm happy that I'm literally here in the present moment, not thinking. And then when I start my day, I start thinking because I'm a fucking human.
Yep.
And it just happens. And what I would do at first is I would get mad at myself for thinking. And I'd be like, you're a bad boy, or whatever the fuck you say. How dare you think? How dare you have thoughts?
Yeah.
But it's just like, I've had thoughts for 27 years, and like, it's not just going to turn off.
No.
And what this meditation practice is that I do is just a way to recondition my body on how to just be, how to be okay with being and feeling and interpreting through my feels.
Yeah.
My feels tell the truth. My thoughts don't always tell the truth.
It's true.
So,
sometimes they're the same, but not always.
Yeah, no, they can align.
Yeah.
And that's why you need your head and heart in harmony. The mind is a tool. Einstein said this. Like, he said, the mind is the servant.
It's an organ. Your brain's an organ.
And it's here to help us. It's here to, and we can talk about this in the next episode a little bit, but really what your mind does is it just, what you can do and manipulate in a way, and this is why I wanted to talk about databases a little bit, is because you can recall the feeling of joy. And you can remember what it feels like. And because our body doesn't know the difference between past, present, or future, you can trick it. And you can trick your body into being joyful right now. And you can also trick your body with affirmations. I know you do this.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing, is you're calling this code in your body, or whatever you want to call it, because our bodies are kind of like computers in a way.
Yeah.
You're recalling this stored feeling of what it feels like to be confident, what it feels, I don't know what your affirmations are, but like what it feels like to be positive. And then you carry that with you,
Just a reminder every day.
Yeah.
You just need, sometimes you just need a reminder to do things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a constant reminder, my affirmations are my top 4 or 5 goals that I want to get done in 2018.
Uh-huh.
And every morning that I do them, it's just a constant reminder, and my internal self, pushing myself to do it.
That you're doing something.
That I'm doing something, reminding myself, hey, this is what you want to get accomplished.
Yeah, you're not just waking up to survive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Through those affirmations, you have a purpose. And this is what you need to get done in order to get those done.
Yeah. Kind of on back to like the metaphor of our minds to computers, though. I mean, I'm new to meditation, but I kind of see it as like rebooting your computer. You're killing off all these processes, all these thought processes. You're killing them off.
All these startup processes we have.
Yeah, and you're just saying like, look, all right, we've got too much shit running. Let's go back. We'll go back to a blank slate.
It's a good way.
And like when I meditate, I always picture myself sitting in like a completely white space where like it's just boundless white. There's nothing to see. It's just me, and then try to like pan out from my body and go from there. But I kind of see that as like I've rebooted when I start meditating, and then I'm like booting up, but I'm not engaging all these processes. I'm not turning them all on. I'm just leaving it in like this raw boot mode,
right,
so to speak.
Because most of the processes we have unconsciously running are just bullshit anyways.
Yeah.
They're not helpful.
They're mechanisms that we maybe once needed at one time, or needed for just a minute one day, and they're still out there running, and you've got to kill them.
Speaking of kill it off, let's kill off this episode.
That's good.
There was one takeaway from today. Trey, what is it?
I mean, there'll be another takeaway later, but for this episode, You have to live without letting your mind be in charge. Because you're not even in the video.
Yeah, you haven't been it.
I didn't realize. Huh.
You haven't been in the video the whole time.
Did we move it or?
You just suck. So, but for real, the message is just don't think. Like, don't try to make thinking the way you operate in this world. The way you operate in this world is through feeling.
Yeah.
And that's the way all animals operate. And we're a fucking animal, and we shouldn't operate through thinking, because thinking is just words, and words are just labels for things, and they're not the actual thing. The word is a representation of the thing. The feeling is the thing that's real. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Just do it.
Yeah. Live through feeling, don't live through thinking. That's the idea for this episode. Toodles!